Hello, I am back with another tutorial today, and today we're going to be making this super cute, beginner-friendly crochet granny square project bag. The perfect bag to like pop a project in if you want to take it somewhere else, keep it in a nice place in your house. This is the perfect bag. So I'll show you what you need. You need chunky acrylic yarn. I went for 4 different colors. I went for 2 balls of the colour that I'm doing the bulk of the piece in, and just 1 of each of the others, which are the detail colours. I'll show you what they look like. So the pink, as you can see from the picture, is my main colour, so I got a bit more of that. I just went for Paint Box Simply Chunky, and yeah, let's get into it. I'm using a 5.5 hook for this, but you can use whatever you want. It will just change the size or the looseness, but it can be a small, tight, big, whatever as you want, but 5.5 is what I'm using if you want to follow it exactly like how I'm doing it. First, we're gonna make the granny square, so you can skip ahead if you already know how to do a granny square. This is just your classic granny square with 3 different rows, and then I will show you how to attach them in this kind of seam-free style so it looks good from both sides. I'll show you how to attach them all, then we're going to do a nice trim around this. This is the strap. We'll do a trim around the edge, and then I'll show you how to make the panel for the side, and then we'll put it all together. But it's pretty quick, pretty easy, the perfect beginner project. Let's go. Okay, so we're gonna start off with the granny square. This is what we want them to look like. I've alternated doing different color combinations just to keep it fun. You can do the same as me, or you can do the same design the whole way through. The only thing I've kept consistent is the outside color. I've kept that pink the whole time. This means that like sewing it together and everything looks super neat. So I'm going to just pick one of my colors. Okay, we're gonna start with a magic ring. Now don't be scared if you don't know how to do this. Magic rings are actually super easy. I'll show you a nice easy way to do it. Okay, so we're gonna get the yarn. Excuse my nail varnish. I painted my nails yesterday because I was like, oh, I'm filming a tutorial, and then I forgot to actually clean them up, so that's on me. So you're gonna take your yarn, the color you want for the middle of your granny square, and you're gonna hold it with your thumb in between these 2 fingers, just here, like this. And you're gonna twist it round, and you're gonna pull it round the back from this side to this side, so it looks like this, and then you're going to cross it over the front and hold it there. So you got a cross on the front and nothing on the back. So you're going to go in through the top of this part, and you're going to hook it around this yarn and just pull it under. So I'll show you that again. So you've wrapped it round, you're going under and through, and then when you've got it here, you're just hooking that yarn and yarning over and pulling it tight. Okay, so now that we've got our magic loop, just leave this string to the side, don't worry about it too much. We're going to chain 2, and we're going to do 2 double crochets into that ring, again leaving that piece of yarn to the side. We're going to do chain 2, and then 3 double crochets, another chain 2 and another 3 double crochets, another chain 2 and another 3 double crochets. That's your last set of 3, and then we'll chain another 2 and connect it. So you've basically there just got 4 different groups of the 3 double crochets. The chain 2 that we started with is acting as that first double crochet. So then you're gonna, after that last chain 2, you're gonna pull this string. This is why magic rings are so good. You're just going to pull it tight and in a knot at the back, and then we're going to slip stitch into the top of this first chain here, and then fasten off with that color. Don't worry about all the ends for now, we can sew them in later. So we're then going to take our next color, so I'm going to use this red. We're gonna fasten on at one of the corners. The thing to remember with granny squares is you want to flip your work every single new row that you do, because like if we were just going, we'd flip our work, but as we're going on with a new color for every row, you want to do that yourself. If you don't flip between rows, your granny square will warp and it will just kind of like tilt to the side slightly, and we obviously don't want that. So this is the way we worked the last row. So we're going to go in at this direction, and we're going to fasten on at one of the corners, any of the corners, it doesn't matter. So just chain 2 and 2 double crochets, another chain 2 and 3 double crochets, all into that corner gap that we fastened onto. Then before we move on to the next corner, we're going to chain 1, and then in this corner we're going to do 3 double crochets, chain 2 and 3 3 double crochets, and then you're just gonna literally carry on that pattern around the whole square, and the next row is gonna be similar to that too. So chaining 1 between each cluster, and then in each corner you're always going to do 3 double crochets, a chain 2 and 3 double crochets. I will be back once I finish this row. Okay, so I've just done my last 3 double crochets, 2 chains and another 3 double crochets, and then just to finish off you want to do another chain 1 and just slip stitch into that top row there and fasten off. So I'm just going to show you on this granny square here what you do for the next row, because it's exactly the same, just in the middle gaps in between the corner clusters you just want to do 3 double crochets. So it's like fasten in on the, remember to flip your work between rows, fasten in on a corner, do the 3 double crochets, the chain 2, the 3 double crochets, chain 1 between each cluster. In the middle gaps you're going to just do 3 double crochets, chain 1, 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets, chain 1, you know, like that. So it's exactly the same as the last row, you're just adding in just the 3 double crochets when you're not in a corner space. Once you've got 3 rows on your granny square, you're going to sew in all of your ends. I'll show you now how to attach the squares together. So you're going to want to get 2 squares. Obviously I'm using all my long attached piece, but you'll start with 2 and then just keep adding to it. So take 2 squares and make sure they're facing the right way, like this. We're then going to place them one in front of the other. We're basically going to sew in one side at a time. So you're going to take the yarn color that you've done the outside with, and you're also going to take a darning needle. So you're going to cut off a piece of yarn that is basically double the length of this gap here. So I'll just hold it and do 2 lengths and make it just a little bit longer to be on the safe side. And this is your sewing piece of yarn. So just thread your needle in, don't worry about like fastening off the end or anything. And we're gonna go in at this corner chain here. So here's your chain 2, and we're going in just this front loop of this side with just that front loop of the other side. So same stitch on both sides, and you're just gonna pull it through until you have like a short little end, and then you're going to hold that down and you're going to go through one more time. That just kind of secures it in place so that we can sew it together, but we can sew these ends in later. So then we're just going to make sure that we're going through only this front loop on both sides, and we're just going to go through every stitch. So we're going to start with this front loop and this front loop and just go through, then the next 2 and go through, and the next 2. And you're basically just making sure that you're only catching the right side, because we're going to then flip it over and go over to the other side. And it just gives this kind of like invisible seaming, which is nicer than crocheting it together for something where you're going to see the seams on both sides. This is some like a great hack for when you're doing scarves. If you're doing a granny square scarf and you want to attach squares together, this is a nice neat little trick. So then once you get to the end, we're going to go through the first chain just like we did on the other side, just that front loop, and then go through that again just like we did on the other side, and then just straight through like this onto the other side. But now we're going to catch in the other side of that chain so that we're in the right position to sew up this side here, and then we're literally just going to follow the same process. So we're already in this chain space, so we're going to go through that on the other side, and then we're going to go into that first double crochet, and again then just every stitch. Make sure you don't pull it too tight because you don't want the ends to come in too misshapen, otherwise you'll have to like spend more time blocking it. And me personally, I like to spend as little time blocking / no time at all blocking anything I make. So once you've gone through that last stitch there, you're just going to go through one more time just like how we started it, and then back through to the other side. This just adds that little bit of extra security. And then you're going to want to sew in these ends here. I'm just going to make that one slightly smaller because we don't need to sew in that much. I like to just keep it easy and just pop it through here. So I'll just go through one end and then I'll just pop it back through this side. You can obviously sew in your ends however you like, but I like the quickest and easiest method generally for everything. So I'm just gonna sew this way. They're pretty secure anyway because we went through each corner like multiple times, but obviously we don't want to just cut off the ends and it all unravels, so that will be fine for now. And then once all of your pieces are attached, you've got your full strap. So in total you're going to want 14 squares. So now that we've got the main bulk of our strap, we are just going to add a trim. I said earlier that I used a 5.5mm hook, but because I think that's, you know, it would be better that way, but when I did this I actually did a 6, so I'm going to switch to a 6 now to do this trim just so it matches what I've done so far, but carry on with the same hook that you started with. Also, if you changed hooks, just carry on with that hook. We're just going to add a trim just to make these little edges a bit neater. So again, we're going to take this outside color, or if you want to do your trim in a different color, then you can obviously do that. I'm going to keep it to this pink, and I'm just going to fasten on, like, I mean literally anywhere. Oh, it's just started raining, sorry if you can hear that. And then I'm gonna pop it in, and it's the same process like the outside of our square. So I'm gonna go chain 2, 2 double crochets, chain 1, 3 double crochets, and then when you get to this gap here, we're gonna do 1 double crochet into the first corner gap. Then we're gonna do what you would normally do for a decrease, but it's just to attach the 2 corners. So we're gonna go in one side, pull through the yarn, but before we like pull it all through, we're going to also go through the next gap, pull through the first 2 and the last 3, like that. So it just attaches those 2 corners like that, and then chain 1 into the next, in chain 3 in here, 3 double crochets in here, chain 1, 3 double crochets. I'll show you that corner stitch again when I get to it. So 1 double crochet in this gap, 1 pulling like a decrease in the next, and then 1 in that last. So that's our little trim. It just blends in with the rest of what we've done, but gives a nice little border. Obviously in the corners it's just the same as the row below. It's just 3 double crochets, 2 chains, 3 double crochets. So I'll be back once I've done this row. Okay, so once you've done that row of trim, just fasten off because we are gonna attach the bottom now. So you just get your 2 end pieces, and we're just gonna crochet these together like normal because the inside's going to be covered. So take your 2 pieces right sides together like this, and we're just going to crochet with a single crochet. I'm just going to go in at this top chain of our corner 2 on both sides, and just going to go in with a single crochet, and then I'm just going to single crochet through every single chain. Again, this is not too major how it looks because it's going to be on the bottom and also the inside is going to be covered. So I am going to go through these chains instead of through the gap though, just because I always think that makes it that little bit more secure. Okay, so just finish off in that top chain just like how we started the row, and then you can fasten that off. And then I'm just going to put this to the side for now. I'm not going to worry about sewing in the ends because you can crochet them in when we put the side panel on. So yeah, I'm just going to leave that for now, and we're going to start on the side panel. So for the side panel, we're going to want to do chain 39. Okay, so once we've got our chain, we're going to skip 2 stitches and do a double crochet in the 3rd stitch from our hook. Then we're gonna skip 2 stitches and do 3 double crochets in the next chain. We're then gonna copy this pattern across the whole chain. So again, skip 2 stitches, 3 double crochets. You're not doing any chains in between these clusters, you're just going straight in. Skip 2 chains into the 3rd, follow that across the whole chain, and I'll show you what the end of this looks like. Okay, so I've reached the end and I'm going to skip 2 again, but in that last stitch I'm just going to do 2 double crochets, and that matches then what we started with on the other side. So that's our start row, and then we're now going to go in and work into the gaps. Okay, so then we're going to start with a chain 3, and we're going to do 3 double crochets in this first gap here. Then again, 3 double crochets in the next gap, and continuing along the row with just 3 double crochets in each of the gaps below, and then I'll show you again at the end of the row. Okay, so I'm at the end. I'm just going to do 3 more double crochets in this last gap like that. At the end of this I'm going to do chain 1 and 1 double crochet in that last stitch, just like that. That mirrors the front there. For the next row we're chaining 2 and we're going into that gap there with a double crochet. As you can see, that kind of follows the same path as our first row. Then we're again going to go into each gap. Okay, so I'm at the end of this row again, and you're just going to do 2 double crochets into that last little gap, again mirroring that first row. So then, as you can see, we're then going to switch back to the row before, so we're just doing the chain 3 and going straight into the first gap with 3 double crochets, and we're basically just alternating between these 2 different rows until you have 16 rows in total. I'll show you what it will look like. Fasten off after that, and this is the size of your panel. If you want to make it shorter, if you want to make it longer, you can do that. Just make sure you make a note of what you've done so both your panels can be the same. So now I will show you how to attach it all together. Okay, so once you have your 2 panel pieces, your attached strap piece, we're going to attach it all together using stitch markers. Then we'll sew it in or crochet it in depending on your preference, and then we'll do a slight trim just to finish off the edges across the whole thing on both sides, a little tie to tie it up, and then it's complete. Okay, so for this next bit you're going to need some stitch markers. We're going to use those to attach our pieces together, just to hold it in place while we figure out how to attach it. So I'm going to take my strap and I'm going to find that bottom crochet edge, and I'm going to use that to line up the panel pieces. So just take one of them, doesn't matter which one because they're both the same, and kind of place it in the middle section there. Doesn't have to be perfect because we're going to line that up. So what we're going to do is we've got 4 squares that we're going to use for reference here. We're going to, on this 4th one, we're going to take not the first gap but the second gap, put a hook through that, and then also through that last chain on that panel, and then the same on the other side. So not the first gap but the second gap. We're going to put our stitch marker through there. So that's the reference of where we're going to sew it to, and then we're going to take the middle piece with the middle seam to line up for reference, and then also just to keep things in line we'll also just attach it in one of our other gaps as well, just to make it easier for us when we're connecting it together. So that's what it's going to look like. We'll attach one whole panel piece at a time so it doesn't get too confusing. We're also going to attach the sides at the same time though. So we're going to take this corner here and flip it around like this. We want to make sure that the strap is staying the right way so it doesn't twist as we make it up, and also we're going to want to make sure that our pieces are right sides together. So this is going to be my right side, so that's going down flat like that. So I'm going to do the same process. I'm going to not do the first gap but the second gap of our square with the end. Okay, so just like we did on the other side, I'm also going to just place in a couple more stitch markers just to hold it in place, and then I'm going to repeat that process on the other side. So just lining it up, not that first square but the third one. This is 3 squares in, and that's going through that corner chain, and then again I'm just going to place a couple stitch markers there. So that's the general vibe. Now you can either sew it together or crochet it together, whatever you feel more comfortable with. I'm gonna sew it together just because we're sewing or crocheting into the side of this panel here, so I just feel like it's going to be easier getting in there with a needle rather than a hook. So I'll show you how to do that, but if you want to crochet it together then you can just skip this part and head on to the next bit. So I'm going to take my darning needle and a long piece of the pink yarn and just thread that on like normal. Okay, so then I'm just gonna go in through where we've stitched marked, making sure I'm going through the stitches instead of just the gaps, because this is gonna hold it better together. So you're just gonna want to go through the top chain there and then the chain one in the middle of the gap. Just like we did when we sewed together the pieces, I'm also gonna hook it into place, and then I'm just gonna use that same stitch and roughly sew it together. Don't be too worried about you know, getting through every single chain and every single stitch. You just want to keep it in line with your stitch markers and make it feel neat and not stretched out. But because we're working into the side and we've just like fitted it naturally, there's not necessarily going to be a chain for every chain on each side, if that makes sense. So just, this is why I think it's a little easier to sew it together. Just go where it feels natural and work your way around the entire piece until you get around to the other side, and then anchor it in place just like we did on this side, going through the same stitch a couple times, and then you can fasten off and attach the other panel to the other side using the exact same method, making sure that you're doing it right sides together again so that it's the same way around on both sides, and also making sure that your double crochets are facing the right way as well. Also remember, we're going through the stitches, we're not going through the gaps in the side. This will make it stay together more securely. So I'm going to come back to you once I've sewn this all together, and then we'll start working on the final bit of trim, and then we're done. Okay, so once you've attached the sides, you're going to make sure you've turned it around the right way. Looking good, looking good. Absolutely obsessed. So now all we're going to do to finish it off is do a single crochet that runs around the inside of the strap and around to the front, and then we'll do a tie on each side so that you can tie it together, and then it's done. So I thought I would show you up here though, so you get a better idea of what I'm doing when I bring it in close. We'll start on the corner, do a single crochet all the way around, and in the middle of our panel we'll do a little tie, but I'll show you that close in now. Okay, so we are coming in for, just move my calculator out of the way, for the last bit of our trim. So you could do this in another colour if you wanted. Again, I'm just going to do it in the pink. I don't want too many like contrasting colours on this piece. So we're literally just going to single crochet this entire row. So I'm just going to go in with a standing single crochet. I'm also going to crochet this end in as I go, just because I'm lazy like that. And we're just going to go through every stitch. So one in each of the double crochets, one in each of the gaps, and you're basically just going to do that around the entire thing until you reach like around here. I'll show you how to do the tie. We're just going to add one tie on each side just so you can have that tie up option if you want. You could add two if you would like. It's going to be super easy. We're just going to do a chain and slip stitch back into it. So I'm going to carry on single crocheting until I get to where I want to add the chain, and I will show you how to do it. But yeah, just single crochet away. Okay, so I'm at the middle of the panel now. You can just work in from the side counting in to find where your middle point is. I'm just going to chain 25 and I'll see what the length of that looks like. So I've got 30 in the end. Obviously you can make this as long as you want, and then I'm just going to slip stitch back through those chain stitches. So once I've slip stitched into that final chain, I'm just gonna single crochet back into the next stitch and carry on. And then I'm gonna go round to where I started, slip stitch to close, and then do the exact same process on the other side. Then you're gonna sew in all your ends, and then you're done. Okay guys, sorry, ignore Survivor on in the background. That is your finished bag. I think it's so cute. I'm really super happy with it, and I think I definitely want to make a smaller one. I think that would be so cute to have it in every size, but as this is a project bag, I wanted it to be able to actually fit my project. So tied it up with the little tie in the middle, and I just think it's so cute. You can obviously just like wear it on your shoulder, but the strap is the perfect size to wear it like this, which is how I would do it. Obviously not with these trousers because that's crazy, but I think it's so cute. The perfect bag for just like taking your current project out to a coffee shop, whatever. You know, everyone in the coffee shop is gonna be like, oh my god, your bag is so cute. and that's the reason we crochet, right? Yeah, I hope you love it. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. If you want to follow more tutorials, I've got a bunch on my page and always more coming. I filmed a vlog of making this project and also the project I did before, my Sabrina top, and a couple other things, which is totally fun. So go and check that out if you want to see the behind the scenes of it all. If you've got any ideas of anything that you want to see me make next, whether it's a tutorial or a vlog or whatever, just let me know. Drop me a comment. Follow me over on Instagram, TikTok, all of that good stuff. I feel like that's all the plugging I can do for one day. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed. See ya!